In this episode of the Butt Chronicles, we take a look at Beavis and Butthead, episode 52, Meet God, part 2.
Welcome to Industrial Industries World Radio's The Butt Chronicles.
You said welcome.
Oh God.
Well, hey, ladies, gentlemen, and butt munches alike, welcome to the Butt Chronicles, your audio guide to everything Beavis and Butthead, and I'm your host, DJ Glowing Ice. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another week. We're going to talk about another Beavis and Butthead episode, and it always makes me feel good. It's like a warm blanket. Anytime I watch Beavis and Butthead, anytime I record one of these episodes, just going over Beavis and Butthead, it's like whenever I feel lost in the world or something, or things just kind of suck, there's always a few things that make you feel warm. There's always those rocks that you could hold on to keep yourself kind of just a little slice of home. And that's how I feel anytime I watch a Beavis and Butthead episode, because it just takes me back to the 90s, to a more simpler time, at least in my life, and when things were really, really cool. Like when Beavis and Butthead was on MTV and, new episodes were coming out. So, yeah, it feels good. So yes, here we are back, and today's episode, we are taking a look at Beavis and Butthead episode 52, which is Meet God Part 2. It first aired on MTV on October 28th, 1993, and that's all we need to know for now. So let's see what happens in the second half of this two-part episode of Meet God with Meet God Part 2. So a quick recap of what happened in part 1 of Meet God. Beavis and Butthead, they get the idea to hitchhike from watching TV and seeing hitchhikers, two dudes, get picked up by a really hot chick. So they think they're going to have the same luck. So they hang out at a highway, decide to hitchhike, and this guy in a van picks them up and takes them into this compound, which is part of some cult where they believe this dude named Hank is God. And they get led into the temple where, quote-unquote, God is hanging out, and Beavis and Butthead kind of ask them some questions, and they are astonished. So while they're standing there looking at God, that's where this episode, part 2, picks up. So here we go. Inside the temple, Beavis and Butthead, among many others, are gathered around God as he preaches to his followers. In a booming voice, God says, "And Moses said unto Pharaoh, Let my people go, lest fire rain on Egypt. And Nefertiti did say, Moses, Moses, cannot feel my breasts? Are they not fruit?" The boys laugh, and Beavis says, "He's good." "He's God," replies Butthead. God continues preaching, saying, "And Charlton Heston did say, Let me, Ben-Hur, ride the chariot. And Tony Curtis did say, I am Spartacus." The next scene is a shot from above, looking down into one of the many guest rooms inside the cult's compound. Inside the room are 2 beds and a couch. The door to the room opens up, and a voice from the hallway says, "Here is your new home." Beavis and Butthead walk into the room and look around. A point of view shot from the boys shows us glancing all over the room. We hear Beavis say, "What? Where's the TV?" "TV is the devil's tool," the voice from the hallway replies. "Yeah, but where is it?" The boys walk over to the couch and sit down, as we see the man who's talking as the driver from earlier. The driver standing by the doorway, referring to the TV, says, "You don't need it anymore. Good night, brothers." And then he shuts the door to the boys' room. The boys glance around the room once more. Butthead starts shaking, as does Beavis. Getting more withdrawn, Butthead bends down and looks under the bed for a TV. As hallucinating lights start flashing in their eyes, the boys start sweating. Beavis says, "Let's beat it." "Yeah, this sucks." The boys both get up off the couch, walk over to the door, open it up, and leave the room. Walking through the hallways of the compound, Butthead says, "We gotta find a TV, dude." Passing by another hallway, Beavis sees a door and he says, Hey, I hear something. The boys walk on over to the door where they hear music playing on the other side. Whoa, check it out, Butthead says. He then lifts Beavis up by his feet so Beavis can look through the window in the door. Inside the room, we see the back of God's head and the back of the couch that he's sitting on as he looks onward watching TV. On the TV shows a chick in a black sports bra as she dances to a song that sounds like Walk This Way by Aerosmith. To the left of the TV is a bookshelf that has various books with titles that include the name Hank. We then cut to a front shot of God as he sits on his blue couch with yellow and orange flower designs. As he sits on his couch with his legs crossed, he moves his shoulders back and forth dancing. As he's dancing, he says, I want my mounds. In the background, we see the door, with Beavis's face looking through the little square window. Beavis drops down and then Butthead pops up to peek in. As the boys lean on the door finally gives and opens, and the boys fall into the room. God, sitting on the couch, simply looks back at the boys. He's shocked for a second, and then he holds his hand up to the TV, showing a chick in a miniskirt, and laughs. God continues to watch TV and dance while sitting on the couch. The boys hop onto the couch, sitting on each side of God, and watch TV with him. Whoa, I could see her whole butt. How about her butthole? God, still dancing, says, yeah, that's cool. The boys then air guitar, and while they air guitar, they mouth the guitar riff from Black Sabbath's Iron Man. And while they do this, God holds up the devil horns, and he starts headbanging. Cut to the next scene, which is the front gate of the chain link fence to the compound. The gate opens as Beavis and Butthead and God walk outside, leaving the compound. Hey, so why did you create zits? Beavis asks God. It's a little over your head, replies God. Yeah, like all over. God laughs along with Butthead. Sorry we can't stay and worship you. Gotta go. So let it be written. So let it be done, God says, as he then starts walking back into the compound. Yeah. Whatever, Butthead says, watching God walk away. Seeing the backside of God walking away, he says, Moses, let's see your people make bricks without straw. Bricks without straw? The gate then closes behind God, and he laughs as he holds his hands up to the sky. It then cuts to Beavis and Butthead standing beside the road outside the compound. They're sticking their thumbs out, yet again trying to hitchhike. Butthead looks down the road and points. Hey, here comes someone. A red convertible sports car comes flying towards them as blonde hair is flying up in the air from the driver's seat. The car stops and honks the horn for the boys to get in. Seeing a shot from behind Beavis and Butthead as they look onto the car, the driver has their head turned the other way. This makes us see only a head of blonde hair. Hitchhiking is cool, says Beavis as he jumps into the back seat. Yeah, Butthead says as he jumps into the passenger seat. We then see the car from its left side, revealing the driver as a man with long blonde hair, a scruffy unshaven face, and a pair of handcuffs hanging from his left wrist. Ha 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 ha, the driver laughs as he then speeds off with the boys in his car. And that's the end of Beavis and Butthead in Meet God Part 2. Now let's check out the music videos. The first music video is Welcome to My Nightmare by Alice Cooper. Seeing how old and cheesy the video looks, the boys laugh at it. Beavis asks if Slash wears the same hat that Alice Cooper wears, and Butthead says, "Oh yeah, but he doesn't wear all that clown makeup. This is awful." Yeah, this is old. And then they change it. Next video is Ziggy Stardust by Bauhaus, and Beavis asks Butthead if the video sucks. Butthead says that they're playing in a sewer, so that's cool. Beavis hopes that they see some fecal matter, and Beavis mentions that he learned the term when he did his report on feces. Next is Fever by Madonna, and Butthead mentions that Madonna has a furry animal in her mouth. And the boys then talk about Woody Allen, and Beavis asks, "Hey, Butthead, what if you're like a chick? Would you go out with your stepdad?" Not if his name was Woody. "What if his name was Stiffy?" Well, maybe. Stiffy Allen. Stiffy Allen. Woodrow Allen. Seeing Madonna partially nude, Butthead says, "Whoa, she's almost naked. That gives me a special feeling on my Woody Allen." And then the boys dance to it in front of the TV. And the last music video is Venus by Bananarama. The boys headbang to it, surprisingly. And then when the group sings, "I'm Your Venus," Beavis sings, "I'm Your Beavis." Butthead asks Beavis what rhymes with Venus, and Beavis says, Venus Flytrap." Butthead says that Bananarama should marry the band Gwar. And then seeing a woman in a skin-tight devil suit, Butthead says, "Whoa, Satan's got back." That's your music videos. Now let's get into the fun facts. So, along with part 1 of this episode, it was officially released on the Holy Rollers home video. And Meet God Part 2 is the 21st episode of Season 3 of Beavis and Butthead, and it's the 52nd episode overall. And IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, gives Beavis and Butthead in Meet God Part 2 a 7.4 out of 10 rating. Now, I will give you my review. Okay, so let's take a look here. Where did this episode start off at? It started off as God is talking about Charlton Heston, and he's bringing up all these quotes from like movies he was watching or whatever. I didn't really catch that as a kid, but now I'm like, okay, I know who Charlton Heston is. I know all these people that he's like quoting. It was a lot of stuff that was lost on me as a kid, but now I see it, and it just lets you know that these episodes do have a lot of replay value after you've seen them as a kid. I've talked about this plenty of times, but once again, here is another great example that goes over your head, and then, yeah, you catch it later. So it really just proves how much of a phony this Hank guy is trying to play God, and but it sure did impress anybody watching, including Beavis and Butthead. But now we look at, they're part of the cult. There's no TV. So no way. With Beavis and Butthead, if there's no TV, they are getting the hell out. But they do find some hypocrisy as they do come across God in his own room watching TV, the devil's tool or whatever. And he's watching music videos with chicks on it. Now, even though this guy is just some regular guy pretending to be God, he does seem actually very cool. Now, this is the part where there's not much of an explanation as to them hanging out, Beavis and Butthead hanging out with God, and then them just leaving the compound altogether. Maybe it's because they caught God in the act of doing something that he's, he praises against or preaches against. Yeah, so anyways, I guess that's the connection we're supposed to make on our own, that Beavis and Butthead caught him red-handed doing things he's not supposed to be doing himself, and they say, all right, you gotta go, and that's it. And it ends with the best way possible. They think, get the chick of their dreams, they're riding away, but it's just some dude that must have escaped the cops or jail because he has handcuffs hanging off of his hand. I remember seeing this as a kid and my dad watching it, and he laughed his ass off at that part. I do remember that. But like I said in part 1, too, there was quite a few music videos, more than regularly in the Season 3 episodes here. And this is the better half, though, I will say. So, given everything, I think my favorite part, actually, it's just a very small part, but it's really cool. You could actually hear his hair whooshing is when God and Beavis and Butthead are all sitting on his couch and he's headbanging. They put in a sound effect of God's hair whooshing. And just like the animation of seeing God headbang is... It's kind of scary but funny at the same time. He's holding up devil horns and you just see this big wad of gray hair flying. I think that's the funniest part. And I mean, the second funniest part is the guy picking up the boys at the end. But yeah, for some reason, that just really sticks in my head as the funniest. Nevertheless, this is much better than part one, but is it like an instant classic? Is it just like one of the best that's just so undeniably funny? You got to give it a 10? No. I will give it a 5 out of 10. No, I'll give it a 5.5. It's better than mediocre. It really does have some good parts like peppered in. It's not like the best, but it does have some good parts sprinkled in. 5.5 out of 10, and that's what we'll get. So there we go. Beavis and Butthead Meat God Part 2 gets a 5.5 out of 10 rating.